we will see a winner-take-all matchup between Jackson Smylie and fellow clubmate Michael Fagen. Both of these guys from Montreal. Both of these guys have won a North American NWL championship before and the $10,000 that come with it. And one of these guys will get to claim the Lake George Division I championship at the end of this game.
Both players, obviously extremely talented players. The accolades and awards that they've won prove it. You don't win nationals by accident. You win by nationals by being one of the best players on the continent. And that's what Michael Fagen and Jackson Smylie are.
Players are live and ready to go. So without further ado, we will cut to the board. Michael will get to play first, not by virtue of having the better record, but probably just because that's what the computer algorithm said. And Michael has grabbed the tile bag. So we see a handshake once again, successfully converting on a handshake. Proud of these guys. All right. A, I, D, another A, an E, and a K for Michael. So a little bit of promise there, but also a lot of vowels on this opening rack for Michael. And this will be an interesting one in the absence of many good vowel dumps out of this play. I think he's looking at maybe a KADI or an exchange out of this situation. I don't see anything else good for Michael to do on a tough first turn. So KADI, I think he's going to trade 5 here, and I think that's reasonable. If I exchanged, I'd probably hold DE as well. I think about holding the K, and then I think better of it and keep the D instead. And Jackson going to respond immediately with his own exchange. So we asked for fireworks, right? We're not seeing any so far, but that's okay. Just saving a little suspense for in the future. One exchange met with another, 0-0 so far in this game.
Yeah, and I agree with the exchange for both players. Michael did not have a decent K play. His one decent K play kept 3 vowels. We hammer that on all the time. If you're a new player out there, thinking about leaves, the tiles that you're keeping back, 3 vowels is not a leave you want to keep. It's going to hurt you next turn. And then Jackson with I think it was EEINNUU, too many duplicates, can't score without keeping a U. Also, very second. Both players have slightly better stuff, although both of them may be tantalizingly close to bingo letters, but not quite there. We'll see what Michael does.
And we saw a situation very similar to this come up in our last game, Benji versus Matthew O'Connor. Okay, typically maybe OI is the play Michael wants to make or something in that vein. Maybe a play like hired to play long and score points, but Jackson has just exchanged as well. How does that change the calculus? He's exchanged 5, so he's got 2 above average tiles probably. Do you play scared? Do you avoid putting out floaters knowing Jackson's sitting on an above average rack instead of a random one? Do you exchange a second time here, or would you go long and play something like hired or hoard here? What do you think, Charles?
I would do hired here for sure. An exchange 5 from both players basically it doesn't indicate that you're close to a bingo. It just indicates that your rack is garbage, especially at the beginning of the game. An exchange 5 is not telegraphing that you're keeping an S or a blank or anything like that. Often, if you have an S or a blank, it makes sense to keep more letters than just 2. So I'd say no reason to play scared here if you're Michael. You take the points that are available to you. And one thing to consider is that if Jackson did exchange 5, he's probably not keeping, an H or a W or an F or something like that. So the double letter score above the E in hired, it's kind of random whether that gets hit for a lot of points.
So hired is the play here. I went ahead and put this in Quackle and ran through. I put in Jackson kept E in, which he actually did. Michael can't know that, but has to have him pegged on a similar range. And Quackle much preferred a small play of OI or an exchange of OI to the longer play here, though Michael's found some consonants which he needs into that OI leave, ABBIOST. But we'll first look at Jackson's rack, AEILNOW, on his pull. He's got to make a philosophical decision here. Alow, Alow, plays with 4 overlaps for 29 above hired, or he can keep things smaller and tighter and play either WO or OWE. He'll score fewer points, but will keep a more dynamic leave. Alow is 29, holding EIN. WO is 21, holding AEILN. What is your preference here, Charles?
That would be a tough decision for me. Sort of like you, Matt, I'm averse to fishing. I like to take advantage of my full word knowledge, not just the bingos that I know. And the AEILN, it's a decent leave with the tiles available on the board and the fact that WO, maybe not as much potential there as it seems like on free. I think in the end I would play longer here, and that's what we see Jackson do. The downside of ALOW, it does set up sort of a minor hotspot on that triple letter score, but really, once you look at the bag, there's not too many things that can hit you for too many points. Really, just the F is the main concern there. So I do like this play, and I think that'd be the decision I ended up making after a considerable amount of agony.
Yeah, this is a tough situation, but we've seen Jackson very consistently for the better course of a year take these racks and almost always just take the higher scoring play or the one that plays off additional tiles. And that's what a player of Jackson's caliber should do. You do not want these games flipping or turning into coin flips. You want every aspect to come down to skill whenever possible because you are the best player in this room. That's the mindset Jackson always has, and that's the mindset he should because, well, he's really freaking good at Scrabble. So avoid the variance. I like the idea by Jackson, and he's going to get hit back by Bob. Could have been a lot worse for him with that hotspot he created, but Michael going to keep a nice dynamic AIST leave, and Jackson into his leave of EIN found an R and a D, which are awesome, but a second I got in the way of him hitting a bingo after that play. And now he's going to have to find another tough or make another tough decision as it's tempting to play something like MI and DOM, score 14 points, but that is just inviting your opponent to crush you on that double double line underneath. And DEINR without any floaters to hit eights, this relies on you to pull a 7 next turn, which is not all that likely. So Jackson, I'm sure he sees the fishing opportunities here, but he hates them and would rather find anything else. I kind of like this play of Medii, Medii, in the same spot you would just play Mi, or perhaps you play mid or midi in this situation. What say you, Charles?
Media looks strong. It kind of forks the board a little bit. They're sort of wandering into danger here, forming the beginnings of what we call a ladder or a staircase. So media kind of averts that. You could also, if you really want to avert it, you could play midline through the L and the I of a low and hired. The downside of that is it's one short of a double word score. Jackson does not have an S, and it could go badly for him. But I would be considering that play just to make sure that the board develops in the way that I want it to. I think in the end I wouldn't make that play, but it would be in consideration for me.
I might also consider just playing a phony down from the DO in this situation with the book against Michael. I would play like Doramide or something. But to make that an effective play, you would have had to make it as soon as your clock started. You can't play a phony after thinking for 3 minutes. So I think that ship has sailed. And Jackson playing mid here, EINR the leave, but he sets up both the front I hook that he's holding and the front A hook that he doesn't have.
Yeah, this is a good play as well, and actually one that I didn't generate while looking at the board. So a creative thought from Jackson to sort of avert what we saw developing, which was lack of bingo spots. Now he's got Imid, and he's also got the spot underneath Bob, if he draws what he needs to, which he does not.
OUU is not what he needed into EINR. That is killer. OUU. And we are back to nobody bingos in Lake George. As Michael, who held very good tiles on his own accord, found the E he was looking for to play into AIST, and then another I, and another S, and he now has a difficult decision to make as well. I think he's looking to play IS and webs, maybe missing something. Maybe he's looking to play IMID instead, though IMID has a front hook of its own that would be T, timid. So I don't know what Michael could do here. Issei, Issei, plays beneath Bob, which is kind of crazy play, but maybe worth making here. There's lots of challenging decisions in this game so far.
Yeah, the SEI play actually does look relatively decent. It takes the SEIS, so he's setting up an S for himself. So DOS, even E and an S. Let me double check that. Yes. So again, he forks the board for bingos. If the draw works out for him, he's again for the second turn in a row drawing into AIST, but with a few more chances to get a bingo down from it. So that's a creative thought. I was also wondering if he was setting up IS and Bob's up to make sure he still has that S hook. He's doing AIS instead, which is a similar idea.
Oh, I do not like this. All right, so
Yeah,
AIS is the move for Michael. Jackson's head has to be spinning right now. Wow, you must be very close to bingo range. You definitely have at least one S on your rack. And now there's a bunch of bingo lines. You've got a mid and I mid on one side. You've got all the lines for sevens on the other. And I've just drawn an OUU. This sucks. But what did Michael just draw except GIU? Nobody bingos in Lake George. Wow. So Jackson immediately exchanging the three tiles he's just drawn. And Michael's got to do the same thing, right? You've got to exchange at least IU and probably the G for good measure as well, right?
yeah, you just exchanged the tiles you drew. I think there's not a play here worth making.
Auri and IMID, the only play generated that makes almost any sense. Auri and RAIS, another option. Each of those holds NU. I think you just oh no, I've got the wrong rack, and I apologize. That was Jackson's rack. Jackson already exchanged. So
It, it's
Michael,
it works out.
EGIISTU.
I think both players were in the same situation, so your commentary actually applied perfectly to both players' racks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think both just exchanged the three tiles they just drew. This is wild. This is sad. How many U's are they going to draw when they look to bingo?
Yep, we see the exchange from Michael. That is, I think, what we agree with. There's plays he could make, but they keep poorly, and he's committed to the bingo right now.
So did Jackson draw a bingo? No, he's playing in Lake George. Nobody bingos in Lake George, but Jackson has 39 points in here from the eye, scores very well, but Michael is clearly very close to bingo range. He didn't like the three he pulled after AIS and exchanged those three, but if you give that many floaters away, especially an E and an R, you're going to get bingo next turn. So Jackson can score 39 and concede the bingo, but the board construction right now really only allows sevens to go, and sevens are a lot harder to hit than eights. So we'll see. Does Jackson want to try to keep things tight, or will he just pounce on the 39 points? I think he needs to. I don't see any other plays worth making that don't open other things up. And I think Jackson's going to go through the same thing and eventually kind of hold his breath, play in here, and accept that he's getting bingoed on. But at least he's got 39 points in the process.
Yeah, it's worth noting he is at a small deficit here. He does need to score points at some point. You can't just play for leave and board construction the entire game. You do have to, at some point, score enough points, or at least more points than your opponent. And so in here does seem like, I would say, really the only choice for Jackson on this turn.
Expert analysis from Charles Reinke, ancient cosmetographer. Scoring more points than your opponent helps you win. And Michael is going to look to do that on this turn. He has set up Scotty, a valid seven that plays with IMID, and the R Jackson exposed gives him one other bingo, Cottiers, Cottiers. So Michael will have to choose between these two. Scotty scores 70, Cottier's scores 74, and I think you've got to take the extra points and the more defensive of these bingos in this situation. And that's what Michael's going to do right here. So the bingo for Michael puts him ahead 138 to 87. And I can't believe we just keep drawing IIU out of this bag like over and over. But Jackson has found it yet again. Somebody needs to just play like TUI 3 times in a row so I don't have to see this anymore. I'm getting very frustrated myself. TUI might be what Jackson plays here. TUI on the left side of Cottier's, making TOUT and IT for 14 points. That is a rather defensive play. And in Jackson's situation, you're not looking to play defense, but I don't see any good plays from that H. So you're either playing TUI, or maybe if you want to, you can play milieu or muley down from the M in mid. Both of those plays, I think, give up a lot back to the opponent.
Yeah, just a series of kind of frustrating racks for Jackson. Actually, his previous rack was all right. It didn't make a bingo, but it at least was balanced and didn't have a U on it. Well, we're back to the U's now, and it's just not much fun to watch. If we're feeling sympathy up here in the booth, imagine how the players are feeling, having to actually, play with these letters, and these letters are dictating who wins the tournament. In terms of
For a
what I,
couple grand, I'm a lot more angry about drawing UII.
yeah, that's kind of a meme. I wouldn't say a meme among Scrabble players, but like racks draws like UII are just well known for being horrible, and it's something that you can complain about to a fellow Scrabble player, and they'll know exactly what you're talking about and how bad that is.
We've all been there before, and while we don't like to admit it, we know we're going to be there again. And yet we keep coming back to this game because we are all collectively gluttons for punishment. Quackle had an interesting idea here. This 2E play gets hit back very hard by overlaps a lot of the time, especially with AIT type words. And Quackle actually liked playing Litu, Litu, through the T in Cottier's for 10. That is winning a sim by about a point over Tui. So maybe a slight misstep from Jackson, but a small one. EEELOV blank. And Jackson has demonstrated the most cardinal rule of Scrabble. Once you play off the U after exchanging it 2 other times, you'll draw the Q. 100% of the time. I think it's actually written into the box rules. And Jackson demonstrating that right here. He will have QI for 35 beneath mid, but of course, Jackson draws the Q because that is in the rules.
Yeah, I actually have a set from my grandma, one of the original Scrabble sets, and that rule is in the box, but she crossed it off. Unfortunately, they also give you a magic tile bag with those older sets that guarantees the play the U, draw the Q rule. So you can cross it off the board, or box. You can try not to play with that rule, but there's some kind of cosmic destiny at play that forces these things.
This play looks awesome for Michael, but it is really bad for a number of reasons. Evolute looks like a nice way to score, but its anagram, Velut, plays in the same spot. Evolute is bad because A, you're opening the board in a game where you're winning when you can shut it down with Velut, and B, it takes a front hook. So it takes a front R. So you're giving up massive opportunities. Maybe Michael thinks with the blank, I prefer this open board, but I say shut it down, let Jackson open, and then bingo when he does. I think that is a huge misstep for Michael, and we'll see if he gets punished for it, though it doesn't look like he's going to. Ooh, Jackson did get a blank, though. Lots of stuff going on right now.
Yeah, Jackson actually did have the blank last turn, I believe. So now both players eagerly looking towards the bingo. But I agree with the assessment of Evolute versus Velut. Michael's holding the blank. There's a couple minor spots to bingo. He doesn't need to get hasty about his bingo. He doesn't need to rush towards it. He can sort of get to it over time and pounce on any spot that Jackson might open up. So in the lead, you generally want to play defensively, and I think in this case, defense was warranted.
I agree. But Evolut came down, and Michael has drawn numerous bingos this turn. He's got set up on his rack Felonry, which plays above Evolut, making YE. That is 71. Not his best bingo. His highest scoring bingo plays down from the H. And I'll just park that there and let y'all solve that. It's a fun one. He's also got a number of 75-point bingos. Reflown is one of them. That plays above Evolute as well, but gets all of your non-blanks on the double letters, which you would prefer to do. So Reflown, Fondler, or Fleuron are all 75 pointers playing where he's looking at playing Felonry. The bingo from the H is higher scoring, but not one I would be looking to make if I were Michael, because it is Hornfels, Hornfels. That word is what we call in Scrabble a sticky S word. It is not good as a 7. There is no Hornfell. You must have the S on on the end. But I'm not throwing an S in a triple triple line in a game I'm already winning if I am Michael. No way. So Michael's got to play one of his bingos on top.
Yeah, for sure. He's looking at the spot he just created with Evolute. This did end up working for him because if he had played Volute instead, his choices of bingos are considerably more limited, and he might have to do something like Hornfels against his better judgment. He would also have to find the word Hornfels, which is not a straightforward word to find for any player.
But see, if you play Veloute and then you bingo underneath QI with Reflown, that's like all but game over, right?
Oh, that's actually a good point. I had forgotten that there's one bingo that plays making a hook on MI. So yeah, that actually does help Michael significantly.
Just keep the board closed when you're winning. When your opponent opens it, bingo and close it again. Like it's a formula for success as old as I've been playing Scrabble, and I think just a huge missed opportunity. When you find a good play, keep looking until you see a better one. Evolute looks so good, but it is so bad compared to where he could be right now. Michael's bingo is a big decision for him to make as well because Jackson is holding on to some very good stuff of his own accord. EELMPR blank. Oh my goodness. That happened, right, Charles?
Oh, whoa! I didn't even realize he had made a play. I was kind of like thinking about Jackson's letters, and yeah, here we know that Michael saw a bingo. We know that he was thinking about felonry, and instead he passes it up. I'm not sure what the reasoning was there because any bingo he gets next turn is not going to score as much as felonry. So um, a little bit of a question mark there. I'm not sure what we just saw.
That is that is killer. Now he's drawn another bingo. He's got Ronels, Ronnels. That is his only playable bingo, and he's got two spots. But if FE scored 40, I could see passing the bingo to score now, but FE scored 18. Did Michael miss every bingo in that rack? Did he miss Floron and Reflown? Did he chicken out of Felonry? Did he miss Hornfells? I don't have any analysis to offer at this point, but that was very uncharacteristic for a player of Michael's caliber. And we have seen a lot of blunders this tournament. I don't know what's in the water in Lake George or what these players are doing at night, but I think they need more sleep or something. This has been some sloppy play across the board.
Yeah, that one is a big question mark. My can only assume that he saw felonry, didn't think it was good, and then missed other bingos because we know Michael is a relatively strong strategic player. He would understand that scoring, what is it, 18 points for FE is not worth passing up a bingo, especially on a board where bingos are not necessarily guaranteed. But
So
we
Michael
do see him play the
passes up
bingo,
on
so
passing up on one bingo, letting Jackson bingo, and then playing a much lower scoring bingo after the fact. Michael could be up by a lot right now, and I've just seen two plays back to back. Evolute and then FE are just confusing, mind-blowing. I don't know. These are plays Michael will certainly look back on if he loses this tournament and just shake his head at. Because you can't blow those opportunities, especially not against a player as good as Jackson.
So for what it's worth, Michael is still in the lead here. He's got a nice 30-point lead. Jackson has some relatively good letters, maybe slightly consonant heavy. Again, FG together is not what he wants. But if he can do just an FE play somewhere and start building towards another bingo, there's tons of A's in the pool. Only 2 A's on the board, so 7 unseen. The A goes really nicely with E, G, and RS. So a fish might be warranted here.
Yeah, I think the R is a very powerful tile for Jackson to hold on to as well for the Revolut spot. So even if you do miss a bingo, plays there are going to net you 30 or 35, and you'll likely be able to keep scoring well in the future. But Jackson's knocking out that spot. Yeah, this is his highest scoring fish of FE, but I think I would have rather played it beneath Runnels anyway to keep Revolut open. Maybe that's too big a sacrifice, but I just feel like this gives Michael so much in exchange, and eliminates one of your best scoring threats in the Revolut spot. In any case, this is a play Jackson makes. There are a lot of A's. I think there are 7 A's unseen to Jackson and 3 I's, and instead he picks up KV because we are in Lake George and nobody bingos in Lake George.
Yeah, that's a very rough draw for Jackson. That's exactly what he didn't want to draw. He's significantly further away from a bingo than he was last turn, when he wants obviously the exact opposite of that. And now we're looking to see what Michael does. It looks like he's getting ready to play XU underneath Impaler, or he could do it under Ronalds. I guess he has a choice.
Ooh, I would take it up top. You're winning the game. But okay. We see it on the bottom. 3 extra points for Michael. XU puts him up 283 to 240. And Jackson, with that KV draw into EG and RS, faces an uphill battle to get back into this one. He does have Veer and Revolut up top. GKNS, not the leave he's looking to keep here. But I just don't see much else that's worth doing. He can play Vogue through the O in Evolute if he wants to sell out and try to bingo right now. EKNRS. But you've got to look at the unseen pool with 7 A's. AEKNRS? What does that bingo with? I think you bingo with a D. You'll have Darkens. An I for Snakier. I'm not seeing too much else. Tankers. Is Yankers
Yeah.
good? Maybe, I don't know. But I like this. I like Jackson keeping the scoring pressure on, setting up his S on top of that, and scored 42. That's a good play for Jackson because he held that R last turn. Michael wasting no time, keeping the powerful egg combination and playing City to go with it. So big score for Michael, 40 points, and Jackson, AGKNOOS for him. I think Michael missed a big opportunity there. Siggy, Ciggy, and Viri was awesome for him. And I think maybe he didn't notice that the Y spot got opened up, but Siggy, a way to undouble those G's. Maybe he's making a meme for the chat here, trying to keep egg, but I think another big missed opportunity for Michael. And yet he continues to nurse this lead as Jackson draws another poor draw, getting a bunch of O's somehow on this turn. I'm getting a lot of shades of Baltimore right now where Michael makes a few mistakes and doesn't seem to get punished hard for any of them, though there's still a lot of Scrabble to be played.
Yeah, that's kind of the annoying thing about Scrabble is your opponent can make mistakes and still win. This is something that chess players don't have to deal with as much, and it takes a different psychological approach to the game to not be upset by these things. Of course, in the middle of a game, Jackson doesn't necessarily know that Michael is making mistakes, although he can probably tell from Michael's bingo of Ronel's that FE was a mistake. Like, you can infer that in the middle of the game, and that can sort of get into your head a little bit, where you're losing to somebody who messed up a turn.
Everybody's had these games as well. If you've ever played a tournament where you know your opponent is making blunders, maybe they lose a turn or two, and you just can't catch the stuff to catch back up. And it is so, so frustrating, but you have to keep it cool. You have to understand this is a long, long game, and just keep on pounding away and do your best. You have to stay calm, and we'll see if Jackson's able to do that here. I like this play he's set up of hookah a lot. You can see there are still 6 A's in the bag here, and GNS plus an A is so. Those I's are going to be nice, but you have to prepare for a second A, or for an A draw, maybe even two if you're Jackson. I'm not looking to hold an A on this turn. I'm looking to play one off. I'm sure Jackson is thinking long and hard about playing look or looks down from the L. Putting an S on that middle triple word in the bottom is always so good to do when you're down, because obviously tons of words end in the letter S, but S is also the thickest section of the dictionary. More words begin with the letter S than any other letter in the English dictionary. So putting an S on that triple is very dangerous for your opponent. There's so many bingos that can play to or from it. And on top of that, it's incredibly hard to block effectively. If you make a word to the S, unless it's got a JQXZ, it's probably scoring 12. So looks is an appealing option, but I don't think Jackson is down quite enough to be this desperate. I really like hookah here for Jackson.
Yeah, hookah does set up a very easy to use S hook. He's already got one on the board under NU, making NUS. But your intuition in these situations is you would like a spot for a 7-letter word ending in an S to play on the board. Currently, he doesn't have that. Hookah gives him that spot. It's just something that you like to have available for you. And I agree with Matt that you don't want to keep an A here. It's too many A's in the bag. Playing one off is kind of a requirement.
So Jackson playing Ponga instead of Congo, and it is so easy to autopilot into Congo on that rack, but Jackson wisely identifying 6 unseen A's. I am playing off my A, and he has drawn another A as well as another O. Ooh, Ostracon would be awesome if he could find a T, but alas, it's not there. Michael plays Hagged almost immediately, holding on to JA, and it would appear Michael is on a hold here as he hasn't drawn his next tiles. So Jackson would love to pick up a free turn, and I'm sure he's not 100% on this word either way. These are always so hard. The short words, can I put ed on the end? Can I put ing on them? Are they verbs, nouns, adjectives? Lots of stuff to think about. But Jackson's probably going to try to assess, can I win this game with this current situation if this word stays on the board, or am I sunk? If I make a play like KAON, making OXO and none for 29, what are my chances of winning? They still seem rather low. Maybe I have to challenge, or I'm dead in this game. Or maybe a play like looks makes this board dynamic in the ways that I need it to be dynamic. One interesting thing about the pool here is there are no E's, and it's actually a very ugly pool from Jackson's perspective. We'll get it up in just a moment, but if you're Jackson, I don't know that bingoing is going to happen this game, not with a pool this bad. And I think maybe you have to be looking for other sneaky ways to get back into this game. Are there scoring opportunities he can set up? I don't know.
Yeah, he definitely Hagged. It takes out the N spot under NU unless you have a bingo with an O. It takes out bingos from the H. There's not really anywhere else to bingo. So Jackson, with this play on the board of Hagged, basically has to switch his mindset. He has to stop thinking about bingos. Keeping bingo prone tiles is not what he needs to do after this. He would need to keep scoring prone tiles. And it's sort of hard to do on a board where there's nowhere to score. So it does leave him in a kind of awkward situation.
I think this is a perfect situation for Jackson to think about phonying here. The Collins 5, KONDO, plays through the D. That does a lot of the things you're looking to do right now. And it makes it very hard for Michael to play underneath that and crush that triple letter score because you've got an S and you're going to hit back with an even bigger play. I don't think Michael could possibly challenge a play like Kondo. He can't lose a turn and let Jackson just straight pull ahead. I think this is prime time to play a phony if you can't find a play you like here. But we may see Jackson challenge Hagged instead.
Yeah, a challenge here would be pretty devastating for Jackson. Obviously, losing a turn is critical, and it also leaves him with one fewer chance to try to do something like looks or even look to by the time something works out in that spot of the board, he's 30 points further down, and it might not make a difference. And it looks like the challenge is happening. That's rough.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson identifying he's a big underdog in this game. He needs a break, and I think he feels this is the best way for him to get it. I'd still play the phony here over challenging Hagged, I think, but that's because I feel like I've seen that one before. But Jackson taking the shot, doing what he can. And because this is an NWL game, for those unfamiliar with challenge rules, Jackson is losing an entire turn on this. So play passes right back to Michael, has Jackson forced to essentially pass on this turn. And that may all but do it. Michael Fagen looking to be your champion of this Lake George tournament. Although, what is that? WUU? We might have some drama yet.
Yeah, it's not over with a draw that bad. It'll take him a little bit to extricate. Although he can just play jaw and wet. Just forget about the fact that he's drawn 2 U's. He can deal with that later. Just score some points. That puts him up by a significant amount. I guess almost 80, at least over 70, and that's plenty of cushion to deal with the 2 U's later on.
So Michael looking to block here. He's set up Taj on his rack, TAJ. Playing that on either side of the Hagged play is going to be a great defensive option, but he has to be concerned as well about OXO plays and good underlaps. Now, Jackson clearly didn't have one last turn. It would have come down if he did, but Jackson can continue to address that line. I bet we see something like OK or OKA come down for Jackson in the bottom right corner to create a second bingo line and say, all right, I've got one chance to draw something good, Michael. Let's take a shot. The WUU missing from the bag on Jackson or on Michael's rack significantly help Jackson's chances of pulling something good. And Michael picking up two of those surplus of A's left in the bag creates some extra drama in this one. Buckle up, folks. It felt like this was over after the challenge, but this could be interesting yet.
Yeah, and I'm actually really surprised by his play of Taj, Michael's play. Like, if you're going to play there, jaw, I feel like is unambiguously better because the W is not helping you, especially with the 2 U's. You could also do Jut if you want to get rid of one of the U's. Taj plays your most flexible tiles for not enough payoff. So I'm not sure I agree with his choice.
It looks like Jackson looking to play OK. I think OK and DO is going to be the play. Jackson just has to think about, hey, if I do pull the bingo making OXO, am I yielding so many points back to Michael that I'm still going to lose? If he just plays DOW and WA anything, like WAY, that scores so much that I think it still outruns Jackson's bingos. So I don't know how Jackson needs to approach this. He's got to consider that unseen pool as well. There's a lot of sticks, a lot of one pointers, but also WYZJ. If he makes a play like Oka, OKA, and DO, he's probably getting hit hard by one of those.
Yeah, I think that is probably off the table for Jackson doing something wild like that. But you never know. He's definitely feeling it now, down by 71.
Desperate times do call for desperate measures, and this is certainly a desperate time for Jackson. So I think you just kind of throw out a Hail Mary here. Maybe Jackson, he's opting not to cede all of these points. He's fishing okay elsewhere, going to score 22 here, but he's not opening the board. If Michael has an O, he can just knock out OXO and end the game. But He doesn't, and I think Jackson knew that. I think there was only one O left, and it was on Jackson's rack. The Y still unseen to Jackson, though, was interesting. Jackson has drawn a bingo. This is a huge swing, and it plays beneath XU as well. So Michael, terrible rack. Jackson, great pull on the fish. This one might be interesting. Oh man. So Michael looking at Awa to address the E and the D in Hagged. That's a great play, but Jackson's bingo of non-arts still fits.
Yeah, that is quite a turn for this game. For Michael, I'm sure he recognizes that the spot underneath XU is the spot he needs to be concerned about. He just can't do anything about it. If he wants to do something about it, he'd have to play SAW, SAW, making NUS, and that just the leave, you can't really stomach it. It's so bad. But maybe it's necessary here. I don't know.
So Awa the play for Michael, UUSI the leave. He's leaving three tiles in the bag. And Jackson now with the non-arts, he's going to have to think for a second before he throws this down. I've got to bingo, right? I can win often enough after this that maybe there's a miracle. You know, if I pick up the Z, if I get Tiz down from the T in non-arts, maybe there's a chance. If I pick up the Z, there's that ADZ spot. Did Michael just set that up for himself? Is Michael smart enough to do that? There's a lot for Jackson to think about here. He can't just pull the trigger. If he feels he's a long shot, he actually needs to forego a bingo this turn to try to hit an out bingo. But I mean, I've got inside knowledge. I know Michael's rack is terrible. If Michael has the Z, Jackson's done even after this bingo.
Yeah, he's got to take the bingo here. There's with the pool as bad as it is, what does he even what does he even do after he passes up the bingo? It's like he's not likely to draw another one. There's no E's. There's no good letters to bail him out. So
The three tiles in the bag, ZAP, and that plays right now with ADZ for over 50 points. Now that will get blocked, but Michael's going to have to sacrifice everything good on his rack in order to make that happen. I've run the end game through, assuming everyone plays perfectly. If Jackson plays non-arts, he wins this game. But that is so hard for Jackson to know. He has to feel he's a huge long shot to win this game after the bingo. He's probably thinking that was a Z setup for Michael. And I think he's about to pass up on this bingo because he knows he can't win. But the crazy part is he will. The bingo puts Jackson up by 6 points. He'll draw three tiles, and basically, okay, he is going to play it. So this Jackson almost got very cute. He's going to be so surprised. Watch his face as he reaches in and picks up the Z and a vowel to go with it. Jackson's going to feel so elated, going from 5% to 95. Watch this. Oh my goodness. ZP, and there's your A, Jackson. You saw it on his face, right? Did I just win? He
yeah,
doesn't know this. He's got a minute and 35 seconds to figure out this whole end game. And Michael's got two choices now. Either play it as fast as possible and just try to block ads and hope Jackson does something stupid, or figure out the exact right end game. But every second you spend here gives Jackson more time to think this through. Michael can take away ADZ and ZAP. He has to. He's got to play DUI, I think, here. But Jackson just slow playing the game from there because Michael is holding ISUY, will not be able to go out, and Jackson can slow play it, drop the Z, and then the AP next turn. This is Jackson's game.
yeah, I don't think Jackson messes up this end game even with somewhat low time. He does. I mean, he almost can't mess it up because there's no way that Michael can go out fast enough to win this game. There's just no way to engineer a sequence, at least that I see, that would be, going out even within like 3 turns. And so Jackson's going to be able to score with the Z, he's going to score with the P, and it's going to be his game, I think, relatively easily.
But this goes down. I mean, this was Michael's game to lose the way Jackson drew. I swear Jackson probably drew 7 U's this game, although Michael's got 2 on his rack right now. Jackson missed every bingo draw basically all game until non-arts at the end. But Michael, just squandering percentage points. That evolute over volute came back to kill him. The bingo miss of felonry was brutal. XU at the bottom instead of at top created this devastating bingo line that Jackson was able to use to get back into this game. Now, I don't want to dump on Michael all day. He's made some very good plays this game. And he wouldn't be in this mess if he didn't draw basically the worst case scenario draw on this rack. He certainly got unlucky, but Scrabble's all about taking those 95% win chances and pushing them up to 97 or 98. And because Michael failed to do that in this situation, he's going to lose the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to unnecessarily, rag on players, but Michael did have some missteps here that we can see directly how they cost him the game. And I think some of them weren't even really a question. So there were some plays here that Michael probably wishes he could take back.
We've got to make like a Twitch emote of Jackson's face as he draws a like just that shocked, like surprised Pikachu face, like what? What? And as he's slowly gone through, I bet Jackson's figured out by now with his tracking, this is his game. And he's just sitting back all smug. Like, I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. I've run out of analysis. I'm in shock as well that this game ended the way it did. Michael's got Dewey set up on his rack. He has to take away Zap, but there's nothing else to do. I'm hearing from our production team we are going to get a little bit of post-mortem from these players afterwards. We will bring the winner of this game, who I presume is going to be Jackson, backstage for an interview. So if you want to hear Jackson's thoughts on one of the most wild games of Scrabble I've seen in recent memory, stick around. We will get him on camera. And if y'all have questions you'd like me to ask Jackson, drop them in chat and I'll do what I can to get those across as well. As Michael agonizes over this end game, this whole tournament was brought to you by an amazing team at letsplayscrabble.com. Josh Greenway, the brains behind the operation. Noah Slatkoff sitting there quackling every game. No FaceTime, no glory, all the work to keep these scores updated. So huge thank you to both of those. Thank you to everybody who's been watching us day on and day off. Thanks to each of my 3 co-commentators, Charles Reinke, Austin Shin, and Jeffrey Pogue. Each of them was awesome to work with and make my life so easy. Thanks to these players for some awesome Scrabble and some teaching moments as well. And yeah, just to everybody. Thanks to Tournament Scrabble. Thanks to everybody else. Now's the last chance for us to drop plugs. So watch Charles on Twitch, Ancient Cosmographer. Watch Austin Shin if CSW is more your game, Austino9. Watch Heidi. Heidi's going to drop her channel once again, Heroin 2 Birds, I think was it. Watch Will Anderson on YouTube, Wanderer15. He's got some awesome stuff. I've got some videos on YouTube from a long time ago, if you don't mind watching 2 dictionaries ago. And everybody try to find a tournament near you soon. I am already on the list for the Crescent City Cup in New Orleans in January, MLK weekend. Get out there and go play some Scrabble. Like this video so we get bumped up the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel. Josh will be bringing a lot more Scrabble. Maybe I'll even be back on the mic for some of it. DUI, the play Michael reluctantly has to make, and Jackson has opportunities to botch this endgame if he wants to, but he's got a number of winning plays, 7 of them. The one thing he shouldn't do is play Zip right now through that eye.
Yeah, that would be a major misstep. And Matt, while you're giving all that thanks list, it's quite a long one. It's missing somebody important, and that's yourself. Thanks to Matt Kanik for leading the commentary on this stream, tirelessly doing a great job every single game. And I'm sure me and the rest of the co-commentators can agree Our jobs are a lot easier with Matt doing most of the heavy lifting. So great job, Matt, on another tournament successfully commentated.
You say the word tireless. I disagree. I am quite tired every time I do one of these, but I would be even more tired trying to make these plays over the board. My word knowledge is so bad right now. This is my way to give back to the game I love without having to work quite so hard. But I am tired. Thanks to everybody for listening to me this entire time and for watching what ended up being an awesome game. I couldn't ask for a better game to clinch a tournament, as I do feel like the player who played better here ended up being rewarded for their efforts.
And yeah, we definitely had no shortage of things to talk about. So that makes a great experience. We're not watching a blowout. We're not watching easy plays. We're watching some tough decisions and some questionable decisions that we can spend some time discussing.
So Michael, it's killer. We've been in this situation. Ooh, okay. He's gonna try the desperation phony. Jackson immediately challenges this one. Doesn't even bother doing the math to figure out if he's gonna win or lose. He just stops the clock, and this is gonna come back off the board. Jackson would lose if this were valid, but alas, it is not. So Michael, one last ditch effort on Lightus. That comes back off the board. Jackson's going to plunk this P, and I'm going to shut up to get to overhead mic. I'm sure we'll have some interesting talk from the players on this one. Let's hear it.
Oh, yeah. 456. Yeah. And that was.
What, Jackson? Right. How many plays ads?
Huh? You blocked that. Yeah, sorry, that was insane. I thought you were setting up the Z. I played this thinking you're just going to the Z.
Well, you blocked
it. I mean, I
I can blame it on Jeremy if he had played it. He didn't.
Well, he blocked
Jack
that.
says I had to. I mean, I couldn't win by normal means.
No, of course it wasn't. No, yeah, I don't believe. I mean, it's pretty much the only draw I could win with. Like,
Is that ID?
well, there's probably a couple others. But like, I need the Z. If you have the Z,
What if I just have ADs and I don't have like a...
even then, I think you win. Like, you score enough points. Like, I'm not drawing you a great pool. I couldn't believe it. I thought you were setting up the Z. It kind of makes sense if you word and you draw it. Or,
I was only worried about like a bingo.
yeah, you're blocking bingos.
I mean, I still had no effective way to block that though.
No, of course.
It's kind of really bad match, so I kept to think ISU you with that.
Yeah, I can't. I'm sorry.
That looks good. ZOUTD.
Yeah.
Playing back to the sound that should like help playing with that.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I was wondering why you were playing the board. The flank makes sense.
Yeah,